Everyone, good morning, good afternoon to everyone around the world. This is Sasha Reutemann, the CEO of the Combat Antisemitism Movement. This is not our first briefing in the past 13 months, but we feel that we are in another moment in the history of this conflict that started more than a year ago, that we need to provide an additional updates on what's happening here on the ground in Israel. We see that we have more than 7 fronts active right now. Maybe some of the speakers will have more fronts that we can identify, but Israel is fighting today from Iran against Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and so on. And we have also the Palestinian terrorism from Judea and Samaria that is coming every day, cybersecurity and the international opinion. All these fronts are changing every day with different terror attacks, different situations, retaliation campaigns from the Iranian regime, but also from Israel that needs to protect itself. With international support and sometimes without support, Israel is fighting very hard. And today we have a distinguished panel of pretty amazing speakers. Thank you for all of you to take the time to be with us today. We have Major General Israel Ziv, recognized general in Israel, speaker, briefer, like really one of the top level person that you can get and can meet with. So thank you for Major General for being here today. We have also Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan Kedar that just retired from his service in the intelligence with a high-level position there. So thanks for coming. And we have Major Danny Citrinowicz, who is working at the INSS, probably one of the best institutes that is analyzing the Middle East and providing an overview. So today is a distinguished conversation, very important one. So thank you for being. And I think that really after the Iranian attack, the retaliation of Israel, the big question, what's happening in the Middle East and the pressure that Israel is being pushed to do ceasefire with Hezbollah and Hamas. So the big question is, at what stage of the war we are in Israel? And I'm turning to the Major General Israel Ziv to kind of provide us after 13 months where we are today and what the world should expect to see in the Middle East, I will say, in the next few months, because I think it's totally unclear with all the pressure that we see today. So we love to hear your opinion, Major General, please.
Thank you very much. Hello to everybody here. Look, I would say that overall, after over a year of a multi-front war, Israel got to a point of realization of optimizing the military achievement, both on Hamas, Hezbollah, and in a way Iran, and the Houthis. And I think that it is, we are ready in order to move into political settlements and through ceasefire or bringing back some of the UN resolutions like in Lebanon. In Gaza, especially with the Hamas, I think that the military achievement is fully dismantling the military functioning and organization of the Hamas. It's not kind of a fully complete decisive destruction, because there are still leftover of Hamas cells here and there, and they are regrouping like they have done lately in Jabalia. So the IDF needs to come back and re-engage and take those cells down. But overall, I think that the Hamas as a military organization, definitely with the capabilities they had on October 7th, 2023, that this is not exist. That's not there anymore. Yet the goals of the war against them is not fully achieved. The Hamas is still controlling, and they were not replaced as the governing element in Gaza. And secondly, and not least, is the issue of bringing back the hostages, which is for Israel a crucial achievement. And we don't see any way that the war can stop without bringing back home the hostages. In Lebanon, I think that the main achievement is decapenating all the strategic level of Hezbollah completely. And I think achieving kind of 80% of their tactical command and control commanders were eliminating. And parallel to that, hitting them very badly in terms of their financial institute or all their economic resources, their storages and logistic armament, and also pushing them from the Israeli border and cleaning most of their readiness that they have built in the last 10 years on the Israeli border. And this operation that is done in the last several weeks is about to clean all those storages and infrastructure and huge amount of armament. Actually, we were surprised to find such quantities of readiness and huge amount of anti-missiles launchers. We're talking thousands. Ammunition, full gear. Everything there was ready actually to do exactly as the Hamas was doing on October 7th. They were preparing, it was a kind of a copy-paste. The Hamas they did a copy-paste of Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was preparing himself in his right time to do similar thing in the Galilee. So thanks God, they did not, and in a way, the fact that Sinwar was stealing the show and doing this horrible thing that they were doing, but it's still kind of, I believe, small rehearsal comparing to what could have happened if the Hezbollah would have started the war in their condition, in a surprise conditions. It's not like the Hezbollah is not in existence. I think we succeeded to take down something like close to 60-70% of their missile capability, but they still hold thousands of terrorists and still thousands of missiles, which we are receiving, unfortunately, every day. Those attacks, most of them are coming north to the Litani, and all the organizations south to the Litani, and especially close to the Israeli border. I hope you have the map in mind, but anyhow, you can look on that later. The Radwan, which was controlling the Radwan commando force, which was controlling that area, is not there. Most of them, by the way, ran away. Some of them are still there, trying to sabotage, to ambush, and to slow down the IDF operation. But overall, the IDF operation is about to.
Major General, I would like to interrupt on Hezbollah because I think there is something that the world doesn't see every day, and it's really the quantity of rockets, UAV fired from Lebanon toward Israel every day across the city. I think that only today we have like dozens of them, and we have injured people every single day. So is it possible to have a military solution like we had in Gaza that really was much powerful?
I'm getting.
It really to be a political one.
I'll get into it in 2 minutes with your permission.
Yes.
Last is the issue on Iran. That the Israeli retaliation on the Iranian attack on Israel was, to my opinion, very intelligent and correct way of attack. And mainly, we succeeded to put down all their anti-air strategic capability, which is the S-300 and the S-400. By the way, also similar to that in Syria. and to damage very heavily some of their force buildup factories for the missiles and some other critical elements. The idea to begin with was to do the right thing and not to go in overweight, in over destruction over there, in order to keep it like that and not to get into an attrition war with them back and forth. Now, at this stage, we feel that there is an advancement in getting back 1701 resolution in Lebanon. Most of the negotiations are done by Mr. Hochstein, Amos Hochstein, the envoy from US. It's been done with the Lebanese representatives, government representative, and I think that there is kind of an agreement that Hezbollah would withdraw north to the Litani River, and there will be a tight supervision for them not to come down and to capture again that area, that territory between the Litani River and all the way down. It's in some places it's like 45, 50 kilometers between the Litani River and some places it's narrower to the border with Israel. And we will not allow them to rebuild all their posts and infrastructure next to Israel. Israel, by that agreement, will warn once or twice and then will interfere in order to dismantle any recovery of Hezbollah next to the Israeli border. There is another issue over here, which is, to my opinion, even more important, and maybe your influence can help with that, is can we go to resolution 1559, which is, disarmament the Hezbollah completely, and also prevent from any flow of weapons to come back to Lebanon. This is very much, although it's an Israeli interest, but right now I don't see that Israel is insisting on that. I think it might be a mistake, but definitely much more pressure from US or maybe from Europe on that point could achieve much better. And first of all, I would recommend to deploy the Lebanese army in Beirut, even before or parallel to deploy them down to the Litani River. Because if the whole thing would be just 1701 in the case of South Lebanon, I think the recovery of the Hezbollah would be quite fast. It will take them a few years, but much faster than if the achievement would go and demobilize the Hezbollah in a wider aspect. Concerning Gaza, our first aim is getting back the hostages. There are delegations both in Qatar and Cairo. The key issue here is, are the Hamas willing to go into any deal with Israel? Right now, as far as we understand, they are insisting on holding the same line that Sinwar was putting on the table, which is no flexibility at all. If things are in that aspect going to continue, I think that Israel very, very soon will have to take a decision to deploy a new structure in Gaza. It means that to deploy a huge police forces and to have kind of a bureaucrat a government, which would not be political one. It won't be a Palestinian Authority yet. or at least for the next 5 years. But they would run the show in Gaza. It means that the IDF will clean the certain areas, and these forces will be coming in, taking their place. There is such a plan. It's not a theory. Actually, it's an American initiative in the tactical level, but it's a very good plan. I saw a map of that, and it's taking stage by stage the control by that police. Mostly it will be based on Fatah people, not Hamas, and holding the territory. It definitely can kick out the Hamas, but what would be with the hostages? This is a question mark. To my opinion, it's a strong leverage on the Hamas to return the hostages, but we'll have to see. Yet the Israeli government did not approve that. Last thing is about concerning Iran, whether they retaliate on our retaliation. I think it's a big question. My gamble now is that I don't see them going into, kind of a frontal attack similar to what they've done twice before, because they know, now the Israeli Air Force can go there without any disruption and do whatever they want, basically in Iran. So it will be very foolish to do so, and I don't think they are foolish people. I think they are even smart people. So we'll have to see, but they are looking for something, to retaliate and not to keep it as a Israeli game.
Yeah. Major General, I need to move to other speakers, and I have to say that I have the pleasure to listen to you almost every day on the Israeli news. So I'm glad that our international audience can listen to what you have to say and to this overall briefing. So thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you.
And I would like to move on to our next speaker, Major Danny Citrinowicz. And I think that one of the questions that is probably not addressed enough is the relationship between all these organizations and I would say, how Israel has been attacked from all fronts, but from one same ideology. So you research Iran in many levels, but you also understand the ideology is moving from one place to another. So I'd love for you to address a little bit the ideology behind these attacks on Israel and these organizations, because we don't see a country right now attacking Israel beside Iran itself, but we really see organizations that they are all fueled by Iran. So we'd love to understand a bit more from you the ideology, and maybe also in your experience, because you research Hezbollah also in many places around the world, the impact outside of the region that they have and how Jews and other communities are targeted by the same ideology.
Again, thank you very much for having me, and I will try to be specific in what I'm saying, just to save the time. But talking about Iran, we can talk, of course, for hours and hours. So I'll try to be very precise, and I'll say a couple of main things that I think are important, and try to sum them up. And first and foremost, is the thing that I think that we are on the verge of direct war between Israel and Iran that could lead to regional war. I'm not saying that it will happen, but I think it's looking back, I think as close as we ever been to such a war. And why is that? Because to understand what's happening now, we have to turn back to the 14th of April. In 14th of April, what really happened is the fear barrier of Iran to attack Israel directly has broken. After the killing of Hassan Madavi, the commander of the Lebanese and Syrian Corps and the Quds Force, when Israel eliminated him in Damascus, the Iranians felt obligated to attack. And for the Iranians, the main problem that they are what we call one-trick pony, meaning that their ability to attack Israel really focusing on the missile and drone capabilities. In 14th of April, they tried to attack Israel massively with the use of drones and missiles. Most of that actually was intercepted, but the Iranian really didn't want to find themselves in a war. This is why they aimed mainly to scattered bases, Air Force bases within Israel, not close to the population. Now, after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, that Iran blamed Israel, and of course the killing of Hassan Nasrallah and Abbas Nitfoshan, that was the replacement of Hassan Madavi, Iran felt that it has to rebalance what we call the equation, terrorist equation between Israel and Iran. So Iran retaliated again, this time aiming for bases within Israel, close to proximity to the population, thus leading to the fact that some missiles actually hit some civilian targets within Israel. And the Iranians thought that Israel won't retaliate, but two main things they didn't calculate. One is the fact that now the US administration cannot obligate or force Israel not to retaliate like they did in 14th of April when Israel really retaliated symbolically in terms of just destroying one radar of the S-300 system in Isfahan. And the second thing, and even more importantly, is Hezbollah factor. We have to remember that Iran actually built what we call the circle of fire around Israel, led by Hezbollah, in order to deter Israel from attacking Iran. Now, when Hezbollah is dramatically weakened because of the actions of Israel, actually Iran is exposed to Israel. And that actually led to what happened in the opposite. The fear barrier between Israel, the fear barrier in the Israeli eyes to attack Iran has broken. And that led to a significant attack. Israel preferred not to attack the oil sites or the nuclear sites of Iran, knowing that A, it will lead to an escalation, and B, it will be against the interests of the American administration. It actually helped dramatically in the fact that it sent THAAD back. It's important for two main reasons. One, operationally, because there is a need to strengthen the Israeli defense, and we saw the importance of that in the previous two attacks. This is one. But the other important thing is the fact that strategically it's signaled to Iran that Israel and the US actually working together side by side. And that's also strategically an important message. Now, where we're standing right now, I will touch what I think Iranian will do and also directly connected nuclear activity of Iran. This is something I think important and crucial. First, what Iranians will do. After the Israeli attack that actually aimed, like my General Ziv said, to mainly SAM system, surface-to-air system, the strategic one, the S-300, but also the capability of Iran to manufacture missiles. It didn't actually dramatically reduce the number of missiles that Iran can launch against Israel, and it has significant ability to do so. Israel actually tried to build those strategic abilities by sending a message to Iran that if they will decide to retaliate to Israel, then they will be exposed to another Israel retaliation. Now, the discussion within the Iranian leadership is tremendous. There are two options that Iran is right now thinking. A, not to retaliate. This is something I think will be pushed by the Iranian President Pezeshkian and Foreign Minister Bassel Akshir, that actually interested in interacting with the West to reaching a nuclear agreement, a new nuclear agreement. This is one. But probably we'll see from the RGC standpoint, people are trying to push Iran to retaliate. After the Iranians understood the sheer amount of the attack, and the fact it was a vast attack, the first one of its kind since the Iraqi-Irani war, and the Iranians are very sensitive to their geographical boundaries, they started to threaten again that they're going to retaliate. Now, the real question, I think, is not if they're going to retaliate, I think it's when and how. Now, again, returning back to the problem that Iran has. In order to inflict damage to the state of Israel, they have only the missiles and drones. Yes, they're trying to build terror cells in Israel, but it's very hard to operate them. So this is why I suspect that the Iranians will try to do something. I'm not sure it will be like the 14th of April or the 1st of October, but it can be similar to that. And that actually, again, escalates things into the probable war because, like Israel said, it won't stand aside. So we're actually waiting for the Iranian response, knowing that if they will retaliate, and it seems now that they will do something, then the Israeli response will be harsh, and then we find ourselves in a true escalation. And that also leads me to the last thing I want to say is the issue of the nuclear aspect. We have to remember that Iran is highly advanced in enrichment, very close to 90% the new military-grade enrichment, but it didn't cross this threshold because they fear from the West retaliation to this step, because you can't just justify enriching to 90% by civilian means. But Iran can do that even tomorrow. It has its technological abilities to do so. It doesn't do so only because strategically they're afraid to take this step forward. But they are very close to it. But you have to remember that in order to build a weapon, you need also what we call weapons group. Scientists that will take the fissile material and build that into a bomb, into a nuclear device. And this is something that Iran is lacking, probably, according to most of the assessments that we hear in the open source, that it's lacking that. So even if Iran to decide to do something, it's still months away from building a bomb. Why it's so important? Because 2025, and that's I think also it's very important, will be, regardless of what will happen now, it will be a decisive year regarding the Iranian nuclear program. The Iranian highly advanced nuclear program. There is a question of a snapback in 2025, whether the Western side, the Western countries, the superpowers will actually go through with it, and actually without Iran committing itself to a nuclear agreement, what they will do is they will maybe operating the snapback. There is the issue of the Israeli attack. That it sounds maybe something distant before the attack of 1st of October, but now when the free barrier is broken, obviously it's becoming more plausible. In that regard, this is the second thing. And also there is the issue of the nuclear agreement. The Iranian president is highly interested, also Pezeshkian, in returning to some sort of an agreement. And for sure, after the US election, there will be, both sides, I think, will try to see whether there is a possibility to return to the old agreement or bidding on a new agreement. So 2025 will be a decisive year. Adding to that, and this is my last answer to that regard, that the fact that Iran doesn't have Hezbollah right now as a protector, as a belly that can deter Israel from attacking Israel, and the fact that they are exposed to Israel, and they saw that in the last attack, will lead probably to rediscussion about the nuclear strategy of Iran, regarding rethinking about the strategy in the eyes of the Iran leadership. I'm not saying they're going to rush to a bomb or rushing to a nuclear agreement, but I'm saying that after a lot of years when the Iranian nuclear strategy was on a stalemate, now things can change dramatically. And like I said, 2025 is really becoming decisive in that regard. The bottom line of things, we are very close to a regional war. It's highly dependent on what the Iranians will do, and of course the Israeli retaliation. But I think once the free barrier for both sides has broken, the chances of another escalation are higher than ever. There is, of course, dependence on what will happen with the Lebanese front, Gaza front. I think directly between Iran and Israel, we're on the verge of direct kinetic war.
I was muted, so thank you very much for this well-elaborated response. And I invite everyone to go to the website of INSS to read more about. It's one of the best think tanks in Israel that research terrorism, terror, international relations related to the conflict in Israel. So thank you very much, Major Danny Citrinowicz. And I think that definitely you are one of the best center in the world understanding this issue. So thank you very much. And I invite everyone to register to the link here and to continue to follow. And yeah, there is a big question what will happen in the near future. And there is a lot of hopes for certain people that Israel will play the role of the good side of history and remove the Ayatollah regime from Iran. But I don't think that this is the case right now. But there is this hope in the air, and I can answer on behalf of everyone. There is a question that that we received already, and I would like to answer before we move to Yonatan, to Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan. If we think that the army, the Lebanese army or the Fatah can protect or keep Hamas away and Hezbollah away, I can answer rapidly, but if someone thinks differently from our speakers, no, they need international pressure to keep Hezbollah and Hamas to rearm themselves. If Yonatan or Danny, you think otherwise, you can answer also this question.
I'll say something about Lebanon. We have to be aware of the fact that despite all the achievement that we had, the personal achievement that we had against Hezbollah, something didn't change, and the fact is that the Lebanese government and Hezbollah still see 1701 as a benchmark for every future agreement. Now, I think the difference between what happened in 2006 and now is the enforcement mechanism that we can build with the international community, especially with the United States, making sure that if Hezbollah would decide to violate the agreement and return back south of the Litani and build its capabilities, then we'll have the legitimacy coming from the international community, especially from the US side, in order to take the necessary measures to do so. I don't think, in spite of everything that happened, that the Lebanese armed forces in its current capabilities can really challenge Hezbollah. This is why we need to do two main things, I think. First, strengthening significantly the left, the Lebanese armed forces, and second, making sure that Hezbollah abide by the 1701 agreement, and if not, taking the necessary step to do so. I don't think there will be a return back to 1559, because I don't see any appetite in the Lebanese system to do so, especially when, despite all the attacks that Hezbollah suffered, he's still the most significant, strongest political party and, of course, military wing within the Lebanese sphere. This is why I believe that the only thing that we can do is 1701, by enforcing that with the international community, building laugh, and have the legitimacy to operate if Hezbollah will violate the agreement. I think that there is an important, or let's say a magic time right now in terms of the current situation. And I think this, and trying to analyze all the components right now, I think it's the most possible solution for the current situation in Lebanon.
Thank you, Danny. I would like to move to Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan Kedar, and I have two questions for you, so we're going to try to divide them in two different answers. But the first question is related to UNRWA, and the second one that we haven't spoke about a lot is about the Palestinian terrorism from Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, that is striking Israel every day and is not on the news. The world is not aware of that, but every day Israel is active there. So I love to understand this topic. But before we go in this topic, there is a big question right now in the world and a lot of criticism of the policy of the state of Israel to ban UNRWA from Israel and to not working with UNRWA. So we'd love to hear your opinion on that, because this is today a very hot topic. The UN Secretary General criticized, all three states around the world criticize that. And I think they forget that many UNRWA employees were a part of the October 7th massacre. There's been for years that incitement was there, and you have been researching them and you know more than us. So I'd love for you to share a little bit what probably you know and the world is not totally aware of that.
Okay, first, it's an honor and privilege. And just on the prior topic, I agree 100% with Danny. I would like to maybe add that I think it's not only what Israel should do, and I think our positions are very explicitly presented to all parties involved. But I think it's the West that maybe has to understand what opportunity we are having right now, and maybe to lean on Israel's extraordinary tactical gains in Lebanon, especially since September, and to see how it doesn't just weaken Hezbollah in Lebanon, but looking at Iran not now on October, November 2024, but Iran October 2025, how, with the expiration of the sunset clause of the JCPOA, and how do you harm Iran's strategic posture? And one of the elements is Iran's proxy whole strategy. And if you weaken enough LH, which is like the linchpin of its proxy strategy, that's a very big thing. So I think maybe, just maybe, the West can do some more. Yes, inside Lebanon, to make all these elements that also General Ziv talked about, laugh, make them stronger, and because this is a real strategic opportunity, looking not these days for ceasefire, but looking to next October 2025, and how do you make the leverages of the West in this tough negotiation of whoever it will be the next U.S. president elected in a week. So it would make it much, much, much easier for them. So going to the Palestinian...
the Palestinian, I think that to guide you a little bit, probably, like, we haven't heard about the Palestinian terrorism since October 7 on the side of the West Bank. And I think that we see for the first time in history, every day we have Israeli Air Force strike in Jenin, in Tulkarem, in places that Israel has been active for years. But right now we see a kind of a war growing there, and Jews have been attacked every day in this region. And I think that we're not exactly aware of what's happening there on the ground between the Islamic Jihad, the Hamas places. So we'd love to hear like what is happening in this region right now and what they try to achieve there.
Yeah, and it's right that most what media is focused on is mainly Gaza, and but also recently very big things are going on also there, in Jabalia camp, and so to go into it. But in all these past months, IDF has done a great job of, let's say, in the grass of terror, also in Judah and Samaria, because that is something that there is terror that is resonating from there. but not as much as could have been. Again, thanks to how the IDF is conducting its operations over there. And but again, it is also a question. There is terror, but you don't see like the masses of Palestinians in Judea and Samaria going in. They may be by polls supporting Hamas, which is a trend, and it's not a good trend at all. But it doesn't. They're not like all of them out of the streets. Things in Judea and Samaria could have been much, much, much worse. And some of the reasons that it hasn't gone there, and it's true that one of the 7 fronts that we're confronting is Judea and Samaria. It is not one of the most severe ones due to IDF operations, mowing the grass of terror in places that it was very hard to do it, especially given that the IDF is like everywhere, also in Gaza, up north. And also that the PA won't do the job, and which is another element, which the PA's also ability, but also will of doing so is not that high.
Yeah. So we have 3 minutes to end on time, and I think that I would love to take you. I think that you mentioned like, Danny mentioned like Iran in 2025, but let's ask the region in 2025, in 12 months from now, how this conflict will end, because Israel cannot live this way we need to deal with our economy, education, rebuilding the country, bringing back people to their homes. So how Israel will end this conflict, in your opinion, where we're going to be in 1 year from now? And let's try to answer that in 3 minutes.
Well, starting with Gaza, I think we're not going back to October 6th, and not also Hamas, because at least militarily, and how that organization used to look like before, that is dismantled already. It's not like a military organization in its command and control structure, and all the stockpiles that it had. That is not Hamas of looking like the day after. Currently, we're dealing with guerrilla warfare, insurgency, and the task, because one can ask if you dismantled the ability to conduct another October 7th, so why are we still there? We are still there because just look at the operation in Jabalia, what's going on, and what the IDF is finding there. Also in UNRWA facilities. So that is something, it's a big task, and hopefully it is something that the IDF in the upcoming months, maybe through also whatever Director Burns will achieve, if there's going to be some kind of resolution. So this is how returns can be achieved. For a day after that, Hamas is no longer a threat to the south of Israel, not only just the ability to conduct an October 7th, but really to secure the whole area. And the same goes for up north. What the IDF has done, that is like the thing that many thoughts and many experts, I don't think they thought what the IDF can really achieve in this short amount of time since we went like on the initiative, the offensive, late September. And yes, it's not 3,000 rockets a day like we were fighting, and this thing could be done. And so I'm pretty optimistic of the ability of the IDF to do the job over there on the way to a political settlement. And again, I think, as I said in the beginning, I think such a political settlement could be much more robust if it's not only, you know, Israel is sometimes criticized for not having a strategy. I think it has to be a Western strategy, not only an Israeli strategy, because the opportunities here are really great. If you look at it in that element. And Iran, well, I think this weekend proved to the whole world that things can be done, and the skies won't fall. And if things do fall from the skies, so we learned how to deal with them. And we saw it on April, we saw it on October 1st. So looking also to the next big challenges with Iran. Again, October 2025, how do you make your lever much stronger? I think if you take all these things together and a Western point of view, a whole Western point of view, not only Israeli, I think the next U.S. president will have a much easier plan.
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. And I would like just to finalize and really thanks also the American support to Israel, because today I'm living in Tel Aviv and I have to say that we have Iron Dome batteries close by our house, and we feel much more safe. I think that is helping the strategy of Israel to not targeting too many civilians in the region of conflict, to targeting military targets, because we don't need to have rapid responses. We need to calculate our move. And Israel is able to do that because we can protect our civilians thanks to air defense systems that are being developed in collaboration between Israel and the US. And that's always something important to continue to support that. It was said by our speaker that really the international pressure to create peaceful solution for long-term stability in the Middle East is coming also with the UN pressure, resolutions from international community. And yes, we need to reiterate the needs of international solution, the pressure from outside of Israel to bring down this terrorist organization using the power that they have in their hands. And I think it's not done enough today. So that's also a good message that is coming from this conversation. So thank you everyone for being with us today. I invite everyone to visit our website, the Combat Antisemitism Movement website, combatantisemitism.org, to see more about our briefing, the work that we do. And we're definitely here to protect everyone. And I have to say, last message was not said enough in this conversation is, let's just imagine the Middle East without Israel for a minute. How it's going to look like here. We see what's happening in Syria, in other countries, with terrorist organizations taking over countries, and Israel is really the first line of defense for the Western countries. Like, if we have a total access and control of terror organizations here in the Middle East without a strong Israel, then the West will be the next. And I think this is very important that we see, that we feel as an Israeli community here, that we are a line of defense for everyone, and the support of the international community is very important to us. So thank you, everyone. We're going here to another weekend in Israel, and we wish to have peaceful solutions and free of all hostages very soon. So thank you very much.